G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 24th of March 2026. I'm your host, the author David Applegate, and as we visit the Ukraine war map from Ukraine, Mr. Bartowski from Minnesota, will you learn? No, that's why I blocked you, and anybody else who wants to claim play stupid word games. This is I have no time anymore for people who don't watch the videos or watch the first couple of minutes and then have a hissy fit because it doesn't fit their narrative. I'm sorry if other people are telling you Ukraine is winning. Okay, I really am. If you are so wrapped up in this war that you cannot even fathom this live map, you can look up for yourself. Right? It's not Russian. I don't get what is so wrong with people today that they have to scream at anything that isn't affirming their beliefs, because the world doesn't work on your imagination. I can only tell you what I see, and I see, I do not see a desperate Russia. I see a desperate Ukraine. I see a desperate media. I see people by the hundreds, sometimes thousands, who are desperate for a Ukraine victory because they have somehow made this war personal. And so, yes, it is not healthy. So I'm going to continue to bring you unbiased news. I don't care about Mr. Bobowski or any of the others who seem to think that their YouTube channel is somehow superior to mine. No. Go. So what have you got more viewers than me? Clearly, they're punching down. Why? You think your viewers are going to leave you for me because I'm telling them the truth? Then you are deserving to lose those viewers by not servicing their needs. So many people on YouTube are so desperate now. And yes, I know viewership is down. I know a lot of viewers are gone within the first couple of minutes. Okay, you don't have to tell me that things are desperate. But one of the things I've often mentioned is win or lose for Ukraine, the Ukrainian nation has lost. And people don't want to acknowledge that. That this war could have been over sooner. But because so many people want to hurt Trump or hurt Russia or both, they want this war to hurt, right? To bleed the Russian economy. Because it's the only way for Europe to inflate prices to desperately pay their debts for their huge gambles on economic policies that were not tried and true or tested. And worse, they want to cling to those very failed policies. And as the boomers age out, all it is pump and dump stocks. That's all they want to do, is to pump and dump stocks. But nobody's got the money. These stocks are not returning investments. And we all know why they're all failing. It's so simple. But because the apparently brings them money, which it doesn't, because you have to take money, right, spend it on the war, and then you only get the tax revenues, and then you got to print money to make up for all the shortfalls because all the other aspects of your economy is gone. So you're giving away all your profits to other countries and then wondering why you got nothing to reinvest, nothing to prop up the economy, you're not smoothing the economy. You're going for huge waves of constant chaos so that you could pump and dump stocks all the time. And you wonder why ordinary people, whether they be in Russia and Ukraine right now, just stare blankly at the screen and go, when is it over? And yes, they are both sides, I think, are in the minority for right now. I think Putin is sitting at 70%. I think Zelensky's sitting at much lower. But overall, the Ukrainian government is still riding high. I think it's like 54% support the war still. But in Europe, the war supporters are in the minority. That's why they stopped taking polls and publishing poll numbers, particularly CNN. You see this with Trump. That young guy who does all the political polling on CNN, said that Trump's enjoying 60% support overall, with 81% of the Republican voting base, which has him in a comfortable majority given the number of people who are on the fence. So if there was an election tomorrow, Trump would still win in a landslide, maybe a bet 73 instead of 77. But still, that is a tremendous victory still, if there was an election tomorrow. So that's why, particularly in Europe, they want to hurt Trump, because they see, right, the American model as a threat to their superstate model that is costing Europe more per citizen. I was like, how much goes to the EU? No one knows, right? But people are going, well, NATO spending. What are they spending on? And again, it's maintaining equipment that may never be used. And probably you could cut, Europe, if you could cut the European army, you could put a buffer zone with Russia. But the reason why they want Ukraine is to put pressure on Russia. It's a strategic threat. NATO did this before with Poland and Belarus. Russia can't trust you, and you are not engaged. Europe is not engaged in good faith talks. Right? So Russia says, if you will not give us the political victory that we have earned and the recognition of our victory, then we'll continue on the battlefield. And when we're done, we'll end the war on our terms. So there is an end game. Europe's not having it. Europe won't talk genuinely to Russia about ending this war. All they want is to try and convince Russia to give Zelensky everything Zelensky wants. You don't give the loser of any war anything they want. Alright? Well, yes, just because America went in Japan and negotiated a rebuilding of Japan, you suddenly think that everybody has to do it? You can't impose your culture on other nations and then suddenly sit down and say, we're the good guys. No, you are not responsible. And this is why people don't like me, because I keep telling them Europe, right, has no right to dictate to Russia. Now, according to Deep State and other... we just had an update. Short time ago, I'll start with the beginning. Russia advanced near Pavlovsk, and a short time ago in Strukovka, near Belovetskaya, and Zakatine, and in the village. So they've entered Zakatine again. They are fighting in Zakatine again today. So despite... and there's no pushback. There is no reported. I have seen... Mr. Babowski, I saw your video. You claimed Ukraine has had battlefield successes, destroyed millions of dollars in Russian equipment, made advances. According to Deep State according to Deep State Maps and the Institute of Study of War, there is no Ukrainian advance. All the arrows are outward. So now there's fighting in, and now there are areas on the map where Russia has probed and attacked, and they have yet to reach Russia hasn't actually reached yet its 2022 positions. They're far from it. That is correct. I will give you all that, right? If you look at the previous maps, right, you go back to 2022 and you see, geez, Russia had a much bigger position. That is correct. And they're actually fighting back to where they were in 2022. That is correct. Technically, however, Ukraine has lost another 40 square kilometers, which is not much, and it creates a barely ripple on the map. They don't even sometimes update this map. But Russia's advanced here, and down here somewhere in Zaporozhye, and somewhere here near Prevalence. So it's a very slow war, and as you can see, when you look, there are drones and missile strikes across Ukraine, according to Ukraine. We'll get to that shortly. Now, according to Ukraine, now obviously the drone did not fly all the way through Russia, although it allegedly flew all the way through Russia. I don't believe it. But according to Ukraine, and has been confirmed, Primorsk was hit around 20 hours ago at the time of recording. Now the fire has spread to multiple. We have one burning, but fires have spread through this, and there's a thick haze, so they're not sure how thick it is. Russia has sent a second fire crew to put out the smouldering, so it is under control according to the Russians, and only one tank is destroyed, and they'll be back up and running within 24 hours. They have gotten quite good at getting their oil facilities up and running. That's why. Now this is a day old. There was a fire within tomorrow. This time tomorrow, it'll probably be hit again. The Ukrainians. This is actually out of date. No. There was a explosion in a residence. We don't know exactly the full extent, but it's believed to be a gas explosion. But for some reason, it is linked to a Ukrainian, and they are still investigating the cause and will likely be found out by tomorrow. But they are investigating whether or not it was a deliberate gas explosion by a Ukrainian or an accidental gas explosion by a Ukrainian. But the person involved appears to have died in the explosion. Appears. We have yet to hear anything other than this two sides which are varied in their stories. And so if you use the common sense, you'll think it's somewhere in the middle, right? We have the majority of drones, Poltava, and the majority of artillery and cross-border strikes. Apparently, almost equal volume. Sumy, it's pretty well evenly split. Most of the drones, again, heading for power and energy infrastructure. But in an interesting twist, okay, in just a short time ago, Russian air defense announced, do I have it still? Where is it? A short time ago, no, story is, okay, is it still here? Okay, they were updating the story. Russian air defense in the last 3 hours apparently had taken down a lot of Ukrainian drones, but for some reason, it, when it starts to spin, it looks like they've retracted the story. Most of the stories now are about Iran. Hungary apparently, we'll get to that shortly. But, okay, Russia has updated its Panzer system, and you can see they've added, don't know if you can tell, but have reduced to a single gun. See okay, so it's now a single 30mm, but it's carrying, sorry, it's still a dual 30mm, but it's not a single, right? There, see, dual 30mm. For whatever reason, they've changed the designer, but these apparently are for the new range burst ammunition. Now, what happens is, as it comes out, it's wirelessly programmed with a range boost timer. So when it reaches its maximum, when it reaches that set timer, it explodes, creating a airburst of shrapnel, which apparently has, and they've now got independent swings on the arms, so they can, and they've increased the radar size, and of course you've got the tracking as well. You've got the command module. These work, I believe, in teams of 4, and surface to air missile, 20 kilogram. So they've increased the surface missile. These are the new 122s that the Russians were talking about. They're programmable. They are quasi-cruise missiles, so they got longer range, although they are small. But they're made to cruise and home in on their target. Oh, gosh. Yes. Everybody's now AI. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's it. Quite fast. Yeah. And you can see in the intercept, quite quick. Literally just come up behind it, bang, and it's all over. As you see, much larger search radar, much faster response times. Apparently they've improved the optics. Like I said, they've got the new new ammunition. That's what these strange looking things on the end are. They are to program the range into the, in the sense of timing, it uses a timer chip. But as you can see, altitude is higher, range is higher, so they can spread these out more. They've actually apparently ringing, and they've increased the range of aerodynamic intercepts and engagement zone. Yeah, this is the S1 smart gun. And literally they call it a smart gun now, these new systems. As you can see, they're showing proof they can shoot down these long-range Ukrainian drones. And apparently, according to one article, they shot down 324 in 6 hours on a big attack. But they, yeah. So their latest triumph has ruined the idea that Ukraine mass attacks can cripple the Russian economy. That allegedly these missiles cost less than the drones, so Ukraine will bleed. That's the idea, to bleed Ukraine. And Russia has responded, of course, with 426. Now, this is not a this is not their largest by far. And Ukraine has actually admitted that 390. And they are, in the past, they would just say 50%. We got 50%. We got 50%. At least now, right, it's varied, and they're being more transparent. They're not always, right? They're very quick to tell you when they hit a Russian target, but they won't tell you about targets in Ukraine. But they are increasing in transparency. Now, Chechen leader, they don't know if this is true or not. And he's faked his death before, by the way. So take it with a grain of salt. They're hoping, of course, he never gets to carry out his revenge on Zelensky. But knowing a Chechen, not a chance. That man, he's got his plans. And suffering from kidney failure, I wouldn't be surprised if they poisoned him. But now, this I have not seen or heard much of. But all right. Have we got anything? Yeah. No, it is completely new. So this is an octocopter. This is it's undergoing trials in operational zones. Got a whole bunch of things that mean nothing, but 15. Okay, so let's assume they've been launched along this front. This is the Zaporozhye front here. It would make sense that if they're launched in this area here, that this would be the ring. And the same here, the ring. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 would make sense. Given the intensities and elsewhere there's the Russians are continuing their pressure campaign. So there's no human wave tactics. If there were human wave tactics, Ukraine could show them. They can't. They can show a few tanks advancing with men behind them. But as you can see, as you can see, there's no Ukrainian victory anywhere to be seen on a Ukrainian map. And you can Google Ukrainian sources, and there was no videos to back up any of the claims that have been made over the last month. Now, apparently, according to Russia, the thing is, even if they're damaged, they can still fly. Now, I think this is a poorly presented. We know that Europe is still buying Russian oil. They have decreased, right? And the Russians saying, well, large orders come first. And that's what they're saying, that your small orders are at the end of the queue. They're making Europe suffer. Apparently, Russia's Russia's urged Brussels to reopen Nord Stream, otherwise you'll be begging for energy. So what little energy you're buying, right, be instead of sending ships, there's a perfectly good pipeline you've only damaged one, you've destroyed one, and the other two are only, one's repairable and the other one is offline. But yeah. Now, again, we have a lot of misinformation, but apparently Qatar Energy, LNG, could be down and production for 3 to 5 years, meaning you have no other options. You are running out of options. And Russia is pressuring Europe and commencing deliveries, starting with Vietnam and other countries first. So Russia's bouncing back. Okay, the whole "we destroyed Russian gas and oil" narrative is beyond belief. But according to Hungary, the people are spying on his government. What a shock. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out there's multiple wiretaps from Ukraine, Europe, political organizations in Hungary. They are desperate to try and push out. But Hungary is adamant that they will reject any support for Ukraine until their oil transit's restored. And yes, they have cut off diesel and electricity and with the Slovakians. Now, apparently, America is trying to broker something to get gas and oil restored. But right now, Trump has told Europe, fix your own backyard. We got Iran to deal with. So what we have now is so many tit-for-tat personal attacks on Trump, and expanding into foreign policy just to deny him a foreign policy win, because the people who are denying him the foreign policy win suffer no blowback. Their supporters will constantly blame Trump. So the people of Ukraine suffer another year. The people of Iran are begging for Europe to help put down its government and restore democracy. Trump wasn't going to support an attack on Iran, saying that nation building and endless wars, but then Iran went out and killed 30,000 protesters. The left, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, and then race off to Cuba to support Cuba, who's now claiming US is going to attack them. And it's like, because they see the ships passing every day in and out of Guantanamo Bay, reporting to the Chinese, and the Chinese are reporting to the Russians, and the Russians apparently, some of these missile attacks have been using Chinese guidance on Ukraine, and Ukraine apparently has lodged a protest and fallen on deaf ears. What a shock. Because remember, when the Soviet Union broke up, Ukraine was helped by China. So don't think that you are well informed until you see that there are layers of deception going on here in Ukraine that are still going on, right? And again, it's about this coastline, right? That Ukraine wants its 10% of the coastline so that it can bring its revenue back up to 100 billion. And now with half the population, they can pay themselves more, right? When they had a larger population and a largely unproductive population, they were broke and still technically broke. They're the poorest country in Europe. Their average income, $5,600. They're paying their army something like $3,000 a month. 3,000 what? Ukrainian pesos? What's that? $30? Right? They rely on foreign aid. The country's bankrupt. Okay, their debts exceed GDP by 8 times or something. They're the third most bankrupt country in the world after Russia. Technically, US is number 1, but Russia's number 2. China's number 1. Technically, you got America and India ahead of Ukraine. But if you take out the countries that are able to pay their debts, you're left with, Russia's able to pay its debts. China's number 1 for likely going to default. You've got Canada and India, whether or not Canada might be able to pay its debts. We'll see with what Carney does over the next couple of months. So you got Ukraine, very unlikely. India, somewhat likely. And China, somewhat likely to default as well. So, but I think India defaulting, no one will notice or care. That they'll just... they've got their money's worth anyway. This is the problem, right? India borrowed at high interest. Russia borrowed at high interest. China borrowed at high interest. I heard somewhere that China's been able to bring it down from 16%. This is incredibly terrible, right? I mean, because it's way less than American debt. I mean, China's debt and interest are way higher, right? They're only meeting 70%. Their revenue is only 70%. 70% of expenditure, of which almost half is going on the military. Now, Russia is trying to allegedly, come to a deal with the US on rare earth minerals and bringing this into the war. And, that's why they want leverage. And Europe wants to take away that leverage. Why do people always want to go for war and get their own way all the time? Because of ego. Maybe I'm too pragmatic for most people. You tell me, right? You tell me, because most people, I think, want this war to end. I really do. But so far, I've asked the question and people haven't answered. So, fair enough. I think most of my audience is smart enough to know that there are layers of deception here, right? That China and India are using this as leverage against the West, and China's influence in Europe and Soros's influence in Europe is pushing this war. So while Ursula always lying and Macron and Keir Starmer and Merkel 2.0 are in power, I think Europe is going to suffer. And Europeans, if you keep voting for the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel. You can support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy merch. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.